Hello dancers, today we'll work with the rib cage again. In my past videos we've done rib cage circles, we've hit the four corners, we've done staccato type movements and rounded movements, and we've worked the same thing on the bottom and also done the different figure eights with the pelvis. So now we'll do figure eight with the upper body. I can do figure eights in my shoulders, which is part of the snake arms. But I can also do a figure eight in my upper body through my rib cage. And if we use that as the initiation for the shoulder roll and for the snake arms, we can get a lot of beautiful musical expression through the upper body. This one may be more difficult than the hips. My students usually tell me they have a harder time getting their rib cage to move. So don't attempt to do the figure eight until you've done the circles and the sideways movements and found the muscles that you need to move the rib cage. When we talked about the figure eight in the hips, we talked about imagining a spool of thread, one on each hip, with a thread between them. And you would make one clockwise and one counterclockwise circle. So we'll do the same thing with the rib cage. We don't have a leg to imagine as our spool, but it's the same idea. If we're doing a traditional figure eight, we'll imagine that on our right side, we have the spool that's turning clockwise. Now watch the difference between a full rib cage roll and just a single one. So of course this side is moving as well, but I'm imagining the big roll, instead of moving laterally to the left side, that it moves back more to the center. And we'll start out with a very big movement, taking the chest and rib cage up and forward, and then to the side, and then back, but not moving as far to the side or to the left in this case as normal. So we're just making that clockwise circle. Then on the other side we'll do the counterclockwise circle, taking the chest forward, to the left, to the back, and more to the center or just slightly right of center. So this is my counterclockwise spool. Again, this requires much more muscular control, so if you have not already mastered the full circle and the four corners, go back and work with that before you try to do this, or you'll be frustrated. So now I've put the thread in the middle. So I'm going to take my clockwise circle, and as I come around the back, moving diagonally forward to do the counterclockwise circle. Moving diagonally forward, that's my thread to the other spool. Taking it back and moving diagonally forward. Now keeping this very isolated right now in my upper body, but I may like to press forward into the feet as I'm doing this to accentuate it, so that as I would be moving the rib cage into the clockwise circle, I could be pressing into my right leg and pressing into my left leg. I'll do that from the back. I'll start on the left side now. Counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise. Now for a reverse figure eight, we would just change the direction. Instead of doing the clockwise circle on the right side, I would do the counterclockwise circle, put the thread into the back, and then bring my left side of my rib cage around in the clockwise direction. Again, just like the hips, if you drop a hip, the other one goes up. If you lift a hip, the other one goes down. My rib cage is attached in the back through joints on my spine, so obviously in order to move my rib cage, I'm actually moving the upper spine. So if I move rib cage diagonally to the left, the right side will follow. So you are still moving the entire rib cage, but we're moving that now into a figure eight pattern, and I'll reverse it. So you can see we get a very different look on the figure eight and the reverse figure eight. Now if I would be dancing this and just letting the whole body follow in this figure eight, I could be having an opposite figure eight in my hips. So as I'm beginning my rib cage figure eight, to the left, the right hip is moving back. As the rib cage comes around, the hip would come around, and you have this very watery feeling of the lower body following the upper body. If I carry on to the snake arms, where we used a figure eight in the shoulders, doing a shoulder roll and a shoulder roll. Again, they're working in opposition. And that, of course, travels down into the arm joints. So now if I start that in the center and I feel that the figure eight in the rib cage is carried on in the shoulder, and that is sending movement out into my arms, and if I add the hips to that, now my entire body is doing a series of very beautiful figure eights.